covered by the Chargers. Touchdown, UCLA.
With USC great and NFL stud, Frostee Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Bleav Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's up, LA? This is Frostee Rucker and Ryan Dyrud on the LA Football Podcast, coming through you live and direct. Ryan, what is going on?
My man, Frost, I was happy to have you do the intro. I just say the same thing over and over again, so I get tired of hearing my own voice. So thanks for introing us.
Well, thanks for letting me lead for once, bud. You've been taking the lead all damn season.
Yeah, I guess that's on me. So
one thing we never did, did like who we thought were going to win the whole season, how many wins, losses. We didn't do anything like that.
Like full season predictions?
Yeah, me and you didn't do that. So hopefully next year, if that's cool with you, we can do that.
Oh, I'd love to. I think we joined right before the season started together, so we were just, squeezing a lot in. But no, we definitely need to.
You can hear the excuses in his voice, everyone.
I guess I make a lot of excuses. I don't know. I don't know. So, but yeah, we'll do that next year for sure. We'll have it in there. So how you doing though? How was your
good, man?
What is today? I don't even know what today is. We're day before Christmas.
Day before the day before.
Day before the day before.
Yeah.
Does it feel like Christmas to you?
No. Kinda,
right?
Kinda. Yeah. My credit card statement says so. So
okay. Well, let me ask you this. Are you done? Are you fully done shopping?
I'm done.
Wow.
I played Santa and I was good. Kids were happy. Everyone was smiling.
Good for you. I'm probably gonna get in trouble for this. My wife's sitting literally across the room, and I'm not done yet. I'm gonna be one of those dads and husbands on Christmas Eve out shopping. Whatever's open.
This is the best time. This is the real hustlers. They get going right now.
Dude, it's great. I love going to we used to, as kids growing up, me, my dad, and my brother, we actually just did it as like tradition. Every Christmas Eve, we would go to the mall to do our Christmas shopping. It was just like our tradition. But the mall was just all dads and their sons. It was awesome.
Oh, just running around hectic.
Yeah. Moms are done in July. They're done shopping.
Oh, yeah. They already got it mapped out what you want, what you need. How about what you need?
Yeah.
Because what you need is what you get in your stocking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Socks or breath mints.
Exactly.
Or I would always get, when I was younger, get little like tools you put in your car in case like you need like to switch out your battery or jumper cables or.
Yeah. I dive into stockings. I like stockings.
Stockings are good. Do you still do that over the mantle?
Oh yeah.
Do you ever give anyone coal?
No.
In their stocking?
I was really acting up that much.
Good. Your son's too young to get coal. Yeah. That'd be devastating. So, but yeah,
he's getting
excited for today's show. Got some great guests joining us. Cody Roark from Locked On Broncos and PFN Weekly. He's going to do a cross show with us, talking Broncos Chargers. And then we do a fun segment with Victor Novak. He's the brewmaster for our partner Golden Road. So we're going to talk beer. He's also a Rams fan. So that'll be fun. Something a little different. Not just
sports. Shout out to Cody and Vic for coming on and dropping some knowledge. Cody was fantastic on this episode coming up. And Vic also, if you ever want to know how to brew beer, make sure you pay attention to this episode because I tell you, my man Victor down at Golden Road will get you right.
Yeah, we probably should have had him on way in the beginning because I feel like during this quarantine, what better thing to do than just become a home brewer? I mean, everyone has so much time on their hands. I'm thinking, why didn't I just brew like a bunch of beer?
We should have been exactly. If we had this episode earlier, people would have probably got that for Christmas.
There you go. Home brew kit. I got my first, I'm going to go off tangent here before we jump in I got, when I was in college, we got our first apartment after living in the dorms and me and some buddies were like, hey, we should try brewing beer. Like, why not? That'd be fun. So we went to this place in Riverside. It's funny to buy a home brewing kit. You don't have to be 21. So we were like 19 years old, sophomores in college, and we go to Riverside to buy, they give you, it's an actual beer brewing kit place. So it's not like we just went to like Home Depot and they give you, the big 5-gallon jugs, all the tubes you need, all the aeration stuff you need. And then you get little like kits of like barley, malts, hops, and then instructions. We got like an American ale and we brewed, we called it like, what do we call it? South Swell Brewery was our name for our one batch of beer we made, but it's kind of cool. Wasn't great, but it was cool.
Did you drink it all?
Drank it all, of course.
That's all that matters. It's still the same ingredients.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, still get you feeling good. But Yeah, before we get into it, show is always brought to you by betonline.ag. Basketball started last night, right?
Oh my God, man. Let me tell you about these Lakers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really matters. I mean, they're the
Yeah, I mean,
champs.
it's the same thing that happened last year. The Clippers beat them at the beginning, and
That's right.
we've seen how that happened. So, shout out Lakers and LeBron on those new rings and rings and things.
Those rings were quite nice.
Oh my!
Just the way they displayed them on the little thing that like spun around, the little pendulum.
Clean, man.
Love it. I love that line in again, I guess I'm just off topic a lot today, but that line in Draft Day, I think Jennifer Gardner, this is more football related, but she says like, how at a sport, the manliest of all sports and the prize possession is a piece of jewelry. But they are nice.
Point. It's got a point.
But they are nice. So yeah, betonline.ag for all your betting needs. As mentioned, basketball is back, football 2 weeks left, and then playoffs. College football is entering bowl season, whatever bowls are played. I know there's already been a few canceled, but hey, you can still bet on the ones being played. College football playoff is set. Notre Dame somehow squeaks in at the 4, but we won't get into that. Interesting there, but you can bet on all those games at betonline.ag. Pick a couple games. You can parlay them for extra winnings. If you have not signed up yet, you can get a great sign-up bonus, 50% to 100%, depending on how you deposit. So head to betonline.ag today and place your bets now. All right, Frost. Before we get into it, anything else you need to add, or should we just jump into it?
No, happy holidays. Let's get to it.
There we go. Here we go with Cody Roark talking Broncos and Chargers.
Give me one of those. Give me one of these Adam Scheffners.
All right.
Yeah.
According to league sources, the New England Patriots, they are going to be off the field for the next 5 days due to COVID protocols.
Yeah. Frank has got nothing on you. That's good.
And then sometimes I can sound a little John Gruden-esque.
Go for it.
All right, man. Yeah, you see this tight end here, man. When he comes down, you gotta down block this guy because the tailback's got to squeeze right off your ass, and then in the end zone we're gonna go spider 2 wide banana.
What do you think, Frost? You played for him. Is that pretty good?
It's pretty good.
Dude, I love John. John's a good dude.
Yeah.
I love dude. Great guy.
All right, LA football fans, delighted to bring in our next guest to help us break down this Chargers and Broncos game, the battle of 2 5-win teams trying to stay out of the basement of the AFC West. We are joined now by a good friend of mine, been on the show a few times, hasn't been for a little while though, so I'm glad to have him back. Cody Rourke, host of the Locked On Broncos podcast and also part of PFN, that's Pro Football Network Weekly. Cody, what's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, not too much, man. Just getting ready for Christmas. We're getting closer. I think for football, I mean, we have a football game on Christmas, so I can't complain. I'm happy.
Cody, Ryan said you used to come on the show a lot. Where you been at?
Oh, man, things have been busy. Locked On Broncos, we've escalated that and grown that. And then all of a sudden Pro Football Network. And man, it's been a journey. It's been a real journey, but obviously, very happy to be here and obviously in good company of you two. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Frost and I talk about this all the time. In a crazy year in 2020, it's good to be busy and kind of furthering yourself and bettering what you do. So I think you've certainly done that. So I like the thread you got going on, and congrats on everything that's going on with you.
Thanks, my man. I appreciate it. But yeah, no, I'm excited about this matchup on Sunday. A little anxious in terms of the last time these two teams faced off. We saw the 21-point comeback by the Broncos in that fourth quarter. But I'd say since that matchup, both teams they're different. Justin Herbert's still the same, but everybody else is different. And some of the circumstances have changed, I think, with both of these teams in terms of the injury side and just the overall production. But, I think for the Chargers, finally seeing them come away with some victories. And, their record, I mean, they're a lot better than the record indicates. I mean, there were several games they had multiple, double-digit leads. And, unfortunately, when you blow those late and you lose, that's all people focus on. But LA is very dangerous.
Yeah, we've been saying that all along. Obviously, paying attention week in, week out. It's been the defense at the majority of time that has been the letdown late in games, letting teams strike back and score. And then as of late, the offense was struggling. Now, all of a sudden, they beat the Raiders. Here they are versus the Broncos. Broncos coming off a very embarrassing loss.
Yeah.
2 different teams, guys getting back, some not. I like the matchup. I think it's going to be a great game, Ryan.
Yeah, no, it always is a good game when these two teams play. And one thing I want to start with, Cody, we've talked a lot about, obviously Justin Herbert, covering him every week, just the revelation he's been. And I think the Chargers, a lot of question marks at coach. I know both me and Frostee think if the Chargers do continue to win out, we think Anthony Lynn will be back, probably much to the chagrin of a lot of Charger fans. But I think it's safe to say they found their quarterback of the future, and something that the Broncos are still questioning about. I haven't been shy on the show. I'm a Bronco fan, so I've been a big fan of Locke, and I think he has the tools to be great, but obviously he's been very inconsistent. So Cody, just talk to us about Locke, obviously what the sentiment is in Denver, and just kind of your thoughts on his progression so far in this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been an up and down year for him. I mean, he started off the year, gets hurt week 2, misses about 4 games from that standpoint, and then you have a couple of delays due to the Patriots going through the COVID protocols. And for Drew, he's never had that real consistent grain. He's had a constant change in the offensive line. 1 week you have a new right guard in there, 1 week you have a new left tackle, and then 1 week against Carolina you have a new left tackle and a new right guard in the game because Garrett Bowles, getting a little bit of food sickness before the game, and then you just want to see what you got out of Netani Muti out of Fresno State. And so the Broncos, they've just been changing some things up, and obviously they've been missing Cortland Sutton this year. But for Drew Lock, I feel like in the last month he has put together some really nice games, some better games than what we saw from the beginning of the season. And I think a lot of it has just been, I'd say, a little bit of mixing the relationship between Pat Shurmur and Drew Lock. For Pat Shurmur, kind of adjusting to what his quarterback can do, what his offense can do. We've seen them run and have success out of 12 personnel. Last week against Buffalo, they didn't go 12 personnel too much, and then they struggled, but I think Drew Lock in the last month has shown progression. He hasn't thrown as many interceptions in the last couple of weeks, which has been great. The interceptions and the decision-making have been an issue for him this year, but holding on the football fumbles have been an issue. He was sacked twice in the last 2 weeks, fumbled twice on that as well. I think for Drew, he's just got to continue to stack just some consistent games together. And that's what John Elway had said earlier this week in an interview. He said that, they like what they've seen from Drew, but they've got to get to the point where he eliminates those mistakes, and that he just continues to stack on some consistent performances. And I think they're going to roll with him in 2021. I really believe that the Broncos got to run it back next year because you are going to get guys healthy. You're going to get more guys experienced, and you're going to have to find a way. If the offense is going to grow in 2021, then you can make your decision to move on after that. But I think it'd be very risky to move on right now from the Broncos offense with Pat Shurmur and from Drew Lock.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's funny how similar these two teams are. I kind of end up comparing them a lot. And, but we agree. We think in a sense, I know, again, Chargers fans don't like to hear this, but for the Chargers, you almost want to see them run it back too. Cause there's a lot of distaste with Anthony Lynn, with even Shane Steichen, but who's to say someone comes in and Justin Herbert has the same success he had? Like, they have to have some of the credit for a guy that they drafted 6th overall that wasn't even supposed to start this year, and all of a sudden he's a top 10 quarterback overall in the league and probably shoo-in for rookie of the year. So there's a lot of those talks also here in LA and what is the right thing to do. So one big news for the Chargers, Joey Bosa is in the concussion protocol. And we saw when the first time these two teams played, that's really what killed the Chargers. They had this big lead. Joey Bosa goes out with, I think it was a concussion as well in that game. Yeah. And then the Broncos come storming back. So how big is that for the Broncos? Do you think the fact that they might be able to, obviously no Melvin Ingram, he's on IR, and obviously may not have Joey Bosa as well? Is that something that really, I think, plays into the favor of Locke and the offense?
I think it does in a sense. And, it absolutely hurts not having Melvin Ingram out there. It hurts not having Joey Bosa out there because those two guys can wreck a game at any moment. When you consider the secondary, you have guys like Chris Harris Jr. who could play man coverage in the slot, and you have stud linebackers, like Denzel Perryman. I know he's coming back from an injury, and you also talk about the rookie as well, Kenneth Murray. I'm a big fan of that guy. I mean, I think he's a great guy. I think he's going to be a great linebacker in this league. It certainly hurts when you don't have those guys in there. So I think for Denver, one of the things that has been an issue at the beginning of the season, especially in that first matchup, is how do you avoid the pass rush? How do your tackles do? Garrett Bowles played really well this year, but guys like Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram, they always pose a matchup threat regardless of who the tackle is or how well you're playing. They're very physical, very agile football players. And one thing I noticed too in that first matchup when I was going back on the film, I mean, there were times where they would just walk up. They'd have a 3-man front, and they would just walk up Melvin Ingram like he was an inside backer, and then he'd just go to the same A-gap stunt with the nose tackle slant across the face of the center. But it never changed from that. And so that was something I was wondering what was going on with that. But Denver adjusted. I mean, I think not having Bosa in that fourth quarter in that first matchup, I think that absolutely impacted the Chargers in a negative way. And it allowed Drew Lock to go through and have time to sit in the pocket and deliver those strikes on those deep over routes. And so if that's the case this week, no Melvin Ingram, if Joey Bosa can't make it, Denver's got to find a way to attack the edge.
Yeah, it's going to be an all-edge game. And like you just mentioned when you saw that blitz running in your A gaps with the nose cross and safety coming, or was it your linebacker you said was coming?
Yeah.
That's just because when you look at a scouting report, one of the log's key things is you got to get in front of him, get in his face, and that's the main thing. If you're highlighting your center right there, your center's the worst blocking guy in the field, pretty much.
Yep.
And that's who they're going to isolate on that every time. So now knowing the edges aren't going to be strong, this makes it just that much more interesting, because how do you game plan versus that? It's already been a crazy year for our Charger DC over here. Very high hopes for him all season, and the defense has just been the letdown. So how do you attack this Broncos team? Will they have extra energy, like I said earlier, from getting blown out last week? Will they come out here and run the ball and hell go deep on them?
Yeah, my biggest concern about this game is, when I look at that Chargers defense is, teams this year have been able to single out Lloyd Cushenberry, and they've been able to attack him, and they've been able to get some success on the interior, and it's been forcing the guards to overcompensate. But one thing I'm going to be interested in seeing is if the Broncos can get the run game going, which consistently enough they've not been able to. Melvin Gordon has actually turned in a really great month for Denver. More than likely he's going to be suspended the first 3 games of next season, so Denver's going to have to figure out if they're going to pay Phillip Lindsay, what the deal is there. But they were able to get a little bit of life in that last game because Phillip Lindsay on a power play was able to cut back and get 55 yards through the B gap and run to daylight. Denver's going to have to find a way, I think, to take the pressure off Drew Lock and to maybe give your offense a chance. You got to find a way to run the ball, and you got to run it consistently. Melvin Gordon's returning back to LA. Chris Harris Jr. is going against his former team. I mean, the storylines are out there for this matchup between the offense and the defense. So I'm excited for this matchup. Obviously, the AFC West is a grind, and these last 2 weeks, they're really going to determine, how you end your season. I think that for both teams, they're trying to end on a strong note with some momentum going into 2021.
Absolutely. And like I said earlier, Ryan, to you, I think it was off the record, that it's the teams that get this 6th and 7th win, out of the last couple games they got. That shows the character of the guys, that they never gave up. That shows the faith behind the coach, that, they continue to push forward. If just for the last name on their back of their jersey, or is for what their coach is preaching. And I think that's the momentum, like you just alluded to, Cody, going into this offseason. How strong of a finish can you get? You may not be going to the dance. We get that. Everyone's been eliminated. Who's getting in is right there on the borderline cusp. But right now, the motivation to not be on the bottom barrel of the draft, fielding a great team and people wanting to come there as free agents, right?
Yeah.
And keeping your head coach around. So
yeah.
It's an interesting matchup.
Yeah, well, Denver's dealing with that right now too, because there's a lot of people that want Vic Fangio fired, and I sit here, I'm like, man, a lot of people just look at the end result of a game, but they don't look at the process. Like, it takes time when you're going through a culture. And I think Anthony Lynn has built a great culture in LA. Those guys in the locker room love it. I feel like also at the same time, he gets a lot of, flack from what's going on in terms of some late game decisions, but that's also on the people that are up in the box that, hey, what kind of information is Anthony Lynn getting from the guys upstairs? Like, hey, challenge this play or don't challenge this play when they should, right? So, I mean, these are all the things that kind of boil down. I don't think a lot of football fans think about. They just look at the end result. They look at the product and they're like, hey, bam, it's not looking good. Get rid of this guy. But I'm a big Anthony Lynn guy. I like Anthony Lynn. And you got to see a lot about this football team in Hard Knocks this year, which, you didn't get to see too much, but he really believes in that relationship building, transformational coaching, and it takes time. And, we all understand, I think the NFL is a results-oriented business, but I think with the talent that LA has, I mean, if I were the Chargers organization, if I'm Tom Telesco, I'm saying, hey, run it back this year, and if it doesn't work out, okay, then we can make some changes. But they got the quarterback of the future in LA, and I think that right there, when you look at Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs that currently right now, they run the division, Justin Herbert and the talent around him, I think, can bridge that gap towards they can compete for an AFC championship. Denver, they're a long ways away right now. They're the one team that, has question marks at quarterback, I would say, in comparison to the rest. So I think that how both teams finish this year is going to be a great trajectory for measuring, how they start next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you kind of beat me to my next question, Cody, so you kind of answered it, but I'll let you go deeper. I don't know how much Charger football you watch, but you're a knowledgeable guy. I know you watch a lot of NFL. So as it stands right now, I already mentioned both teams the same win count at 5, but who do you think is in a better position right now heading in to the offseason and into next year?
Right now I think the Chargers are. I mean, I look at the offensive talent around them. I know Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, those guys have been banged up. And, Mike Williams, you're dealing with some injuries all year long. He's just one of those guys, but he still comes in and he's one of those guys. And then they have some other guys in Guyton that's, he's emerged as a burner for them. Hunter Henry's having a great year. Austin Eckler's back. The thing that I look at for LA, they just have so many different, so many weapons, so much talent that I think they do have the most momentum, where Denver has more question marks than they have answers right now. There's a lot of questions about what Denver's going to do. Now, offensively, if they decide to run it back, then I think it answers some of your questions that you may have. But I'd say LA's probably in a better position right now. When I look at this game, too, the thing that concerns me about Sunday's matchup is you factor in Keenan Allen, you factor in Mike Williams, Guyton, you factor in KJ Hill, even one of those guys, Hunter Henry. Denver is so banged up right now in the secondary at the cornerback position. They got Michael Ojemudia and they got Devontae Bosby. And then they also have Parnell Motley, who they had signed from the San Francisco 49ers practice squad. Then they have Nate Hairston. These guys, are all, they're all unproven. So at this point, with Bryce Callahan on injured reserve, he's not going to come back this year. AJ Boye dealing with his suspension. Denver is hurt right now in the secondary, and that's Josh Allen and the Bills really took advantage of, especially with Stephon Diggs, short routes. And we know Keenan Allen, he's the guy. If it's third down, what he's doing. He's going to run an out route 8 yards past the stick, and he's going to use his size to box you out. That's exactly what he does. And so Denver, they're going to be very tested this Sunday. And to me, I think it's the most concerning aspect of this game is Denver in the cornerback position right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to be tough. And obviously we saw it last week against the Bills where, I know a lot of fans were upset, but, when you don't have the dogs in the fight, it's hard to stop one of the best offenses.
That's a complete team right there, too.
Good.
Man, they in my opinion, they're the biggest threat right now to Kansas City. I think they have the best chance to be able to do it because offensively they are magnetic, and defensively too, they're very stout. And I know the Chargers played them tough. I mean, they absolutely did. And the thing that I'm looking at too is just they're at a point right now where they're just rolling. And Denver, as Frostee had said too, the thing I'm looking at how Denver played and how they lost, it was so demoralizing. The true measure of how I'm going to see this football team these final two games is how do they come out against LA? How do they come out and finish out the season against the Raiders? If they perform the same exact way, I'm going to be concerned that maybe the players, the coaches, they've lost the players in the locker room. That's going to be a big concern, which that hasn't been an issue this year. But after a loss like that, it's a gut punch. And so how you respond, I think, is going to be a big measure as to the toughness, the grit, and the culture that you've built in that locker room.
And you find that when you're watching the games, if they lost the locker room, you see the amount of big plays that happen. Mm-hmm. You see if guys are not in their gap, and like you said, Phillip Lindsay runs 55 yards last week, right? That's the type of stuff that happens, those critical errors, and that's what happened. These last couple of games, you'll see if they can eliminate them and they play strong and with energy, especially right now, every game's a home game, despite the weather. If you're playing in or out, there's no crowds. Right. So if you see big errors and lapses of judgment, guys out of coverage and just a bomb over Baghdad, no one there at home, the guy's hitting his head on the goalpost, that's why. They're not paying attention. They're not focused. They're ready to go on some vacation because they're not in it and they're not committed.
Yeah. Well, and Frostee and I talked about it, and that's where we credited Anthony Lynn is after their blowout to the Patriots. Some would say the worst loss since they've been in Los Angeles. They come out and now they've won 2 straight. So I think that shows the Chargers are still fighting for Anthony Lynn, and we'll see how the Broncos do with Vic and Cody. One thing I looked at when I look at Buffalo, I think they're a really good example for both of these teams, being the Broncos and the Chargers, as an organization that put something in place they believed in, had some rough years, even with, Sean McDermott was, had 2 losing seasons his first time coaching. Josh Allen looked pretty awful his rookie season and not much better his second year. And now he's in argument for MVP. They kept their, Brian Dabble kept everything. They basically just kept everything in place, stayed the course. And now they're a top tier team in the NFL. And I think for both the Broncos and the Chargers organization, sometimes that continuity is key and just lets you build on it. And as long as the players are fighting and balling out and playing for their coach, you'll see improvements come a normal offseason, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the perfect analogy for this is you don't throw the steak on the grill without marinating it, right? And so I think that for teams like the Chargers, for the Broncos, you marinate with what you have, right? And you prepare and you build. I mean, the talent offensively is there for LA. The talent for the defense is there. It's just all about consistency, I think, for them. Denver's got a talented defense. So they're young at several positions, and the offense is very young, but there's some promising things coming back. Juwan James will be back at right tackle next year for Denver. You'll have Cortland Sutton back. Albert Okwuegbunam is going to be back as well. That's going to be a big security blanket. He and Noah Fant together. That's kind of scary. Denver was having some production with them, and then, bam, he tears his ACL. It's just unfortunate, but that's just been the type of year, I think, for both of these teams is just bad breaks and not being able to build on some of the good thing. But I tell you what, I was very impressed by LA when they went into Las Vegas and they played the way they did. Chris Harris Jr. getting that interception. And then, Badgley missing the field goal. I was like, oh my goodness, like this is the Chargers season summed up, in a nutshell. Like they have all these opportunities and they just can't capitalize. But luckily, Justin Herbert, took things in his own hand. I was talking to a bunch of Chargers fans this offseason. And I tell you what, it was really weird. Some fans were like, oh yeah, we want to go all in on Tua. I was like, over Herbert? I was like, I don't know about that. And they're like, well, Herbert's not really proven in college. I'm like, you got to be able to just watch the body of work. And so the moment I throwing the ball on Hard Knocks, because I've been an Oregon guy. I've watched Justin Herbert since he was a high school player at Sheldon High School in Eugene, Oregon. Yeah. I knew this kid was special. He's got the cerebral ability to be able to make things worse. And that's the thing is he does it. He does the smart things. And if the defense, like, for example, a few weeks ago against Atlanta, he didn't have that many passing yards, but he had a lot of completions. He was efficient because he was taking what the defense was giving him. And that's the only thing you can do. And then you take a couple shots downfield with the speed guys like Guyton. Of course, you're going to capitalize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We've talked all season with guys about college, and everyone's like, man, was he held back in college? Seeing how good he's been.
I feel like offensively, the scheme in Oregon, as electric as it was designed to run the football primarily, especially with guys like Penei Sewell, who's going to be a big prospect this year in the NFL draft. But, the identity, I think, for Justin Herbert, he's always been able to be that gunslinger. He's the smart guy. And I think we saw that when they battled Kansas City. He had no idea he was going to start, but when he battled Kansas City in that first matchup, we saw like, hey, man, this guy makes big boy throws, especially against Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I think the sky's the limit for the Chargers, and I think for a guy like Herbert.
Yeah, and that should say that the head coach should have a chance to sit there and build with it. I was talking to another player probably 2 days ago, and he was telling me about the process of how the Pittsburgh Steelers do things. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent a little bit, but they say when they pick their coach, it fits a mode, right? It fits exactly what they want. They don't care about the first 2 years if they're not doing as well. That's why I said, what they say, the Steelers have only had 3 head coaches since the 60s.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what I mean? They pick what they
good.
want. They pick what the demographic where they're at, and that's why they're so good, because that's how they do it. And I think more teams need to pick a guy, settle with him, and let him flourish. You can't just give these guys 2 or 3 years and be like, oh, it's over, and everything the guy's trying to build, the respect, the communication, everything, the relationship with that unit, right?
And the community.
It never festers, and then you don't have a solid team, and the fans are always mad.
Yeah.
Organizations are influenced by fans, and that shouldn't be the case. Some ownership don't know football, so they hire someone that they think knows football, and it never works.
Yeah, and that's risky.
A chance to blossom, you have to.
Well, in Denver right now, they're dealing with the dilemma about not having an active owner right now. It's controlled by the trust. And a lot of people are like, well, the Broncos should just sell the team to Jeff Bezos. I'm like, here's the deal. When you sell a team to a shark, a guy with money that has no football knowledge, no football relationships, I say it sets a very dangerous precedent. Yeah. You want somebody that understands football, understands relationships, and understands how to build that. Now, I look at the Carolina Panthers, and they're embracing an all analytics approach, which to me, I think analytics has its place in the game, but to be able to factor organizational decisions, personnel decisions based off of analytics, I think is a very, very risky move. And I think it could do a lot more damage than it can do, any good for you. So I'd say that's a concern for Denver. I know in their ownership situation. And like I said, I think you got to have people that understand football. If you have somebody controlling your operations that has no idea about really the game itself, but they look at the result and they listen to the fans booing because they're unhappy about a coach's decision to go for it on 4th down, then I think that's where things get a little bit, dicey. That's choppy waters there.
Yeah. I mean, look across the league at the stuff. It happens all the time. Ownership comes in. They have all these different hires and fires of GMs, great ones and not. What system, what program, what foundation are you building? So I think the Chargers and Broncos stay put, stay where you're at. Both teams are trying to compete to see how they finish these last 2 games. Yeah. And I think that's what makes your decision. And I think these coaches get in these positions, they need to have at least 5-6 years for their program to see things through. See a whole guy's 5-year contract out.
Yeah.
Cody, you're talking to a future GM here in Frostee Rucker.
Hey, I'm excited.
That's
Oh yeah, I like Frostee's mindset. That's why I have a lot of respect, because Frostee understands the game of football, not just from a player standpoint, but from an operations standpoint. So I love that.
Yeah.
When you're around, you ask the good questions, you know?
That's right.
Start understanding why, you know, not just looking at the play. Why are we running the play, coach?
Yep.
Just like your son, we were talking off air, the whys, right? All
Whys.
about the whys. Well, Cody, you obviously know your stuff, man. I love talking to you. Before I let you go, what's your prediction? I think this is a coin flip. Personally, I think it's just going to be come down maybe to last possession, like it did the first game. But who you got?
I think I would love for the game to come down to kind of like a last possession, a competitive game. But right now, I just feel like the Chargers are at a point where they're riding that momentum. I mean, going into Las Vegas, beating them, being well rested too. I mean, they played Thursday, they had all that time off, and now they have a chance to recover. I think they're going to come in and take care of business at home. Unfortunately, I just think Denver is they're not there yet, right? And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. You have a young football team, but you got to go out there and you got to compete. And if you have a chance to win the game, that's great. But I think overall right now, the writing's kind of on the wall for Denver. They're just not there yet. And that's, like I said, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone gave enough credit to these coaches and teams for how they've done with COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because this has been a terrible thing that they've had to deal with. And it really put to see how mature your players are, your coaching staff, everyone, and to just be able to play all the games and finish out, even though your Broncos had a situation with the quarterback room, right? But besides that, think how many people have been in and out of that program from injuries and stuff, and that has to say something too. Look at your offseason. Not every team was already built like we said. The Chiefs were built for this.
Oh, yeah.
Right? They're a small offseason, but they had a nucleus there that they didn't let go.
That's important.
It has to be the same. You got to think about it that way. So, Cody, thank you. Thanks for stopping by. I learned a lot from you today.
Absolutely. Hey, I love talking with you guys. And shoot, if we weren't even recording, we just keep talking football. I appreciate it. But I hope all of you have a very Merry Christmas with you and your family. Stay safe, and I hope you guys have an amazing holiday season.
Absolutely.
My man, Cody Roark with Locked On Broncos, part of PFN Weekly. Dude, you're the man. Thanks for jumping on with us. And yeah, I held you longer than I said originally just because I love talking football with you. So thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. All right. All right. Big thanks to Cody. Love that guy. Dude's a knowledgeable dude, wealth of knowledge, and sounds exactly like Adam Schefter.
And John Gruden. So that was pretty surreal. Thanks, Cody, for dropping in. I'm learning a lot this year, man. I'm telling you, every person we get to record with, even from yourself, I get to learn every day and, try to get my craft better. So thank you, man.
No, absolutely. Thank you. It's you can learn from anyone, anywhere, anytime, no matter what you do, how professional you are. I think that's something I try to do every day is what can I learn from anyone, whether I'm at the store or doing this. So I learn a lot from you every day. So love doing it. That was a lot of fun. Speaking of learning, let's learn a lot about beer now, because I know that's fascinating to a lot of people. Obviously, it's our sponsor in Golden Road. So Victor Novak, the master brewer for Golden Road. Let's jump into that. We'll talk a little Rams with him as well. All right, Los Angeles, got a great guest for you today. We're going to talk a little bit of Rams football because he is a diehard, longtime Rams fan. But first, we're going to talk a little beer because he is the brewmaster at Golden Road Brewery, our partner here at LAFB Network. You can see two of the beers behind me. Got the placard right behind me as well. But Victor Novak, brewmaster, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Great.
Awesome.
Happy holidays. Getting through it.
That's right. Well, let me start with that. So obviously COVID has affected everyone, but you guys are in the service industry, the beer industry. You obviously have locations where you have people that usually can come and dine in and taste test and do all this stuff. How has just this changed your industry?
God, I mean, it's been so tough for a lot of our brothers and sisters in the industry, whether it's just restaurants or, the brewing industry specifically. When we have outdoor dining, we're actually okay, especially here in our Anaheim facility. We have 30,000 square feet of outdoor dining, so that's great. Mm-hmm. So we've done okay. Our parent company, of course, is Anheuser-Busch, so they've been fantastic and basically paying everybody since March, really stepping up and helping everybody out here for our specific company, which is fantastic. But some of the local breweries are suffering. You got that sort of dichotomy with the wine versus beer, and beer has to serve food and wine industry does not. So that's been a little bit tough on them. And they can ship some beer to to folks' houses and whatnot. And that works for some of the really niche breweries like Green Cheek and bigger ones, maybe even Firestone or Russian River. But the smaller local ones, we got 20, 30 breweries here just in Anaheim. They don't have that kind of cult following here in California. So it's tough, they're furloughing people and it's been very, very tough to see. So we're just hoping to get the stimulus through and get everybody get vaccinated. And then we can, hopefully 2021, get everybody back to work. Everybody wants to work. There's just, the sales have really plummeted. So it's been tough.
Yeah. There has to be some type of coverage for you guys. That industry has been just on. I just hate it because I'm a person that loves to go to restaurants and eat out, dine in. I love to sip beer, your beer especially, right? And it just sucks that the industry, all the people that have to sit here and watch other companies and sort be able to function and whatnot, and to say that what they do isn't safe, but what they do and what they offer is, and Target and stuff like that. It's kind of like how do you find the medium there?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's financially difficult, for the government, and they're sending out trillions of dollars. But people, where do you go? It's that third place. You got work, you got home, and then you got your pub, you got your favorite restaurant. And to not get the support, from government is very difficult. And I see on the news, whether it's Jose Andres or other restaurateurs saying, look, we're about to shut down. Said Moses is about all those great places. I saw that. So Kohl's has got some issues right now, where that institution that's been there for 100, 120 years is potentially going to close, and it's just really, really difficult to see, because even though Said Moses has got a ton of places in LA, when you're tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars behind in rent, and you don't have a lot of people coming in, they can't do a lot of to-go sandwiches, it's going to be really tough. So
Kohl's is one of my probably favorite places in all of Los Angeles. So that would be devastating if that goes down. I love Kohl's. Aside from doing this, Victor, this podcast and running LFB, I worked in restaurants for almost 15 years. And so the restaurant I worked at closed in March, haven't worked since then. So it's a place that hits home for me, obviously, because it's something that I actually did. So I know it's a grind that you guys are getting through and doing whatever you can. And I'm glad that we've been able to work with you guys. I don't know how much you know about our relationship, but we've been able to work with Golden Road this whole season. It's been a lot of fun for us. And I know people still love drinking beer, but people may be drinking more beer, just not with friends out and about, but they might be drinking it just as much.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing okay package wise in the stores. Luckily we always can beer. And so we're Ralph's and Albertsons and Stater Brothers and all the great partners there. But, when again, for our brothers and sisters that have the smaller breweries where it's mostly dine in and you're going to go to your local and have some craft beer, that's been the hardest part. Yeah.
Vic, I have a question for you. Say things are going back to normal. 2021's here. Everyone's vaccinated. Out of all you guys' restaurant chains that you do have where you sell beer, I'm a big Cheers fan. Which is the place that resembles Cheers the most? What's the more family atmosphere for Cheers wise for Golden Road?
Of ours, or where I go to?
Of yours.
Honestly, even though it's, I started off at the LA location, and it's a great place, but it's a little more kind of 134, a little bit more removed. The Anaheim location is, and I'm a huge Halo fan in addition to a Ram fan. Of course, the Rams played here at Angel Stadium. And it's a huge space. It was a window and door manufacturing facility. So we've got about 60,000 square feet of space. And again, half of that is outdoor, but it still feels cozy. And right across from Angel Stadium, and it's Angel Central, and we got Ram games on. We'd like to be Ram Central, but I would say the Anaheim location, just because, of course, the food's great, staffing's great. My wife is actually the GM here. We've been married a number of years, so it's not like we met here at Golden Road, but it's huge, but it just feels really, really cozy here. And again, that view literally across Orangewood Avenue to Angel Stadium is a great spot to hang out.
I'm a Tustin guy. Okay, so I go to Tustin. Yeah, I'm from Tustin, born and raised. I go to the Tustin Brew Co.
I love it. We live down the street from Tuscan Brew Co. Yep.
Okay, so I'm very loyal there. I love the Lemon Heights Heffenweiser. That's my thing.
Yep.
What is the beer? What Heffenweiser do you guys have that complements something like that?
Yeah, so we make, we just call it Golden Road Hefeweizen. It's a German or Bavarian, South German style Hefeweizen. So what you like, and probably what I like, is that banana clove character. So when you go to Oktoberfest, of course, you're going to get your Oktoberfest beer, which is really the lighter one, not the amber one that we're kind of used to drinking. But you're also going to get some Hefeweizen, and get your liter mass of that in a Schweinshaxe or a pretzel. But it really brings you to that South German area. I visited a number of breweries in Bavaria to really dial in our Hefeweizen. We don't do open fermentation, which they're known for, but you get that banana, you get the clove, you get some body, just a little bit of crystal malt, a little bit of breadiness. And that, believe me, I love our Hefeweizen, and really proud of it because, again, I've spent so much time traveling in Germany and then coming back, getting the water chemistry right, using German malts, that German yeast. And it's just a thing of beauty. They're not as popular now as they used to be. I'd say 5, 10, especially 20 years ago, you see a lot of Hefeweizens. And, of course, you see a lot of American Hefeweizens, Pyramid, Widmer, but I like the Bavarian one. But we still do well with it. It's kind of a shame that it's not the cool style now. Of course, everything's hazy, fruity. You've got your pastry beers, your pastry stouts and whatnot. But Hefeweizen's that go-to beer that you can drink anytime. And it's amazing with food, Indian food, Thai food, cheeses, because of that yeast character. And it's not overly bitter, so people still love it. It's got that fruitiness. It's just classic. So it's awesome. You love it.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that.
Victor, I think Hefs and Belgians will make a comeback. I think this IPA phase will start. Maybe just because I'm not a huge IPA fan, but Frost, that was a perfect transition. So Victor, you're the brewmaster at Golden Road. What does that mean? What is your role, and how did you get into brewing beer? Did you start off small and work your way up, or did you start with the company? So just walk me through Brewmaster and your story.
Sure. So very briefly, because I don't want to bore anybody, but I'm in my 50s, early 50s. So a lot of guys my age and women got into this by home brewing, and I went to UC Berkeley. I studied political geography, so history, tradition, culture, love all of that stuff, which is why I love to travel, meet new people. This is, fantastic. And you learn so much more by traveling and get out of your comfort zone and broaden your mind, right? And so you're more accepting of things. So I dated a gal. We both graduated from UC Berkeley. She got into grad school at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. Great beer city. And we couldn't get Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. That was like a big dilemma. We'd have to go across, down to DC or into Maryland. And so for Christmas of '92, she got me a homebrew kit to make Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. I read a book called The World Guide to Beer by Michael Jackson. Of course, not the singer, but the world's authority on single malt Scotch and beer. And if you want a great coffee table book, pick it up. The World Guide to Beer. It's still in print. And it just gives you a snapshot of these styles that I'd never heard of. Alt beer, Kolsch. I'd heard of, Anchorhead Porter, but the Belgian styles that you mentioned. And it gives you like a page and a half. And it goes into just that, the history, the tradition, the culture, the food. I'm like, this is amazing. I remember it sitting on my couch. This is exactly what I want to do. And then a few months later, I applied for a job at a brew pub called Dock Street Brewery and Restaurant, got a job waiting tables, bartending. And then a couple of years later, worked my way in the brewery, worked there for a couple of years, and then came back to Southern California in '97. And then in '99, I hooked up with a place here in Orange County, Taps Fish House and Brewery, and then joined Golden Road in 2014. So I've been here 6 years already. But so much of what I do is that it's looking. So you see the trends. It's hazies, it's fruit beers, kettle sours, barrel aged beer. And so my primary responsibility is recipe formulation. I call myself a beer chef. So you've got to be aware. You don't want to just follow the trends, but you got to be aware of the trends. And, a lot of older brewers are like, oh God, that hazy beer, it looks like my home brew. It's not filtered. It doesn't look finished. But once I started drinking them, and I started off actually with, I mentioned open fermentation, which is different than these cylinder conicals that we brew with now. Very traditional, just means it's open and you see the kind of Kreuzen layer, and you get more of the fruity ester like we were talking about with the Hefeweizen. And so much of what I try to do is incorporate that traditional brewing and looking at, what's the current trend? Hazies. But it's all about yeast character. It's a fruity English style yeast, which is, I trained under an English brewmaster. I'm like, okay, it may not be filtered, but it drinks like a British style. And then, of course, now they're fruited and they add lactose and whatnot. So it's like, I also am a big cocktail fan. So if a bartender can't make you a Negroni, a Manhattan, a gimlet, a martini, if they can't make the basics, how are they going to make an aviation? How are they going to go on to do something more interesting? And again, the classics are still great. That they're a classic because they're good. Same thing with beer. If you can't make a Helles, a Hefeweizen, a London Porter, an Imperial Stout, a Pilsner, and then tweak it to make it maybe for other folks that are getting new to beer, and they're like, yeah, that's kind of what my dad drank. I want something more interesting. But you got to be able to make the basics, have a foundation, and that allowed, and having that foundation. And then when I was at Taps, we were doing fruit beers and barrel-aged beers. So when I came to Golden Road, they're like, hey, can you make a Mexican dark lager? Yeah, I've been making that for 20 years. Can you make a porter with chocolate and coconut that tastes like a Samoa cookie? Sure, I can do this. So much of what mine is using my experience over the last 25 years to still create the classics. We have a beautiful German Doppelbock on right now that you guys, maybe I can send you a crowler or something, or swing by, I'll get you one. But then also we've got a beer called Citrus Roots. That's a blonde ale with grapefruit, Meyer lemon, and blood orange that tastes like a shandy. It's fantastic. So 40 beers on tap. If you can't find something you're going to like, then I'm doing something wrong. But again, and it's not just me. I'm very collaborative. My brewers, whether it's here in Anaheim, LA, we've got a little brewery in Huntington Beach and in Sacramento. We talk about it. What are people asking for? What do you want to brew? And then we just have this amazing collaborative atmosphere where somebody comes up. Actually, the first kettle sour we did was not my idea. It was somebody else's. And now we do some really cool kettle sours based on what this other brewer in LA wanted to do. So it's just, you've got to, I take ultimate responsibility. If it's terrible, then I'll take the responsibility. If it's great, of course, I share that credit. But it really is, so much of what I do is harnessing all that information from my experience and my brewer's experience to create something great. And it's not about us. The brewers may want to brew a hoppy brown ale. Guess what? 99% of the population doesn't. So maybe homebrew that, but make sure that what we're putting out is something that's going to be fantastic and is going to be something that people are going to enjoy. And again, with 40 beers and rotating 100 beers throughout the year, you guys are going to be happy, and your guests will be happy when they come in, because there's always something new. Traditional, current, everything in between.
Are you guys open tomorrow?
The pub is open tomorrow. Yeah. So if you want to swing by, I'm actually off tomorrow, but I'll swing by and cook you guys up with some growler stuff.
You might be over there. A little lunchtime special.
Frost is getting thirsty.
Hey, he's starting a label one, and I'm already thinking about the ones I've already drinking. And then the mango one that I had not too long ago, I had a mango one that was phenomenal. Then I just looked online and see your seltzers and all that. I'm like, yeah, I might have to swing on over there and check it out.
Yeah. And you got to be, some brewers are like, seltzers, I'm a brewer. I only make beer. I'm a traditionalist. Well, I'm a traditionalist, but I'm also a realist and know that, White Claw and our Fruit Card Hard Seltzers, that's $1 billion and growing segment of the beverage industry. If you're not jumping on board, and again, the one thing, if I can pontificate a little bit or rail against, is sort of that exclusivity, with cocktails and coffee, and, they kind of put their nose up and they're better than you because they're a bartender or they're a brewer or whatever. We're in the hospitality industry. So we're about making people feel comfortable. So if they want to drink a seltzer, one of my brothers is only Bud Light. And he comes in and he'll drink our blonde or he'll drink something else, but he's not going to drink an IPA. He doesn't really, care for the mango cart. So I want to find him something that he's going to be happy with. And again, feel comfortable. It's your third place. You're not supposed to feel or be made to feel that they're doing you a favor by giving you a beer. We're happy that you're coming into our place. You're a guest. We're happy you're there. And we want to make you happy. That's the whole idea behind hospitality. And again, I waited tables, I bartended, and then I've always worked in breweries with restaurants because I love this. I love this social aspect. I mean, I'm rambling on, but I love beer and I love talking about it. And I don't go to bars and tell them I'm a brewer because then, it's not like, hey, look at me. I want to be a guest and see how I'm treated in other breweries and other cocktail spots and restaurants. I'm a little bit known in Orange County, but basically nobody really knows me, which is great because I want to experience what everybody else experiences in that, whether again, a brewery, a winery, whatever. And that those are the places I'm going to go back and spend a lot of money at because I'm made to feel comfortable. I don't need a bunch of friends and, that I need find my third place and that I need to have a friend there. I just want to be treated well and be happy to spend my money there. And that's what we preach here is in the training side. And really, my wife, her whole focus so much of what she does as general manager is with the environment here and especially getting to the staff, getting it through their head that look, we're in hospitality. Please make people feel welcome.
Totally. More people like you out there, man, because your passion behind your craft, that means so much. I had a lot of passion behind playing football in my career, and you're limitless. You're not just, like you said, it's not just a Pilsner, it's not just IPA, it's this, and you want to make sure everyone's taken care of. And I felt like that when I played football. It's like I could play defensive end, I could play defensive tackle, I could help you on special teams because I came here to play football, and you came there to brew. So.
As a team, right? You're a member of the team, though, and it's like we are going to do this. We are going to succeed. Not that I'm going to stand up on the bar and say, "Hey, everybody, I'm the brewmaster." Everybody goes, "Who cares?" I just want to drink my beer, so I don't have that kind of ego. But isn't it more? It's more gratifying when you're part of a team. It sounds like a cliche, but it's true
100%.
that it's so much more fun. This kind of thing. And that's what's great about sports. Some of the women I dated, actually kind of the one I dated in Philly, maybe why it didn't work out. I love sports. I played baseball, tennis. I'm not that big, so I couldn't play football. I would have gotten run over. But sports is that, look when the Cubs won in 2016. Look when the Red Sox won in 2004. Mm-hmm. Generations were in tears, and when the Lakers just won and the Dodgers haven't won since '88. Again, I'm a Halo fan, and I'm hoping that, we'll have another 2002. Mm-hmm. But the community of sports is amazing. And that's what I love about beer as well is, when if I do meet somebody new and they say, "What do you do?" I say, "I'm a brewer." It opens up a conversation. If I'm I got my Golden Road on today, but when I have my Ram, whether I have my Dickerson jersey, or just a Ram shirt, or usually my Angels hat, and I look terrible in hats, which is why I don't really have one on. You guys look great in a ball cap.
I have headphones on.
Sure.
Yeah. So, but again, that starts a conversation. I was actually on a run, a couple of weeks ago, and I hear this boo, and I'm like, "What the heck?" And it was a guy with a Seahawks jersey. Oh. But again, but it started a cool conversation and a little, you don't mind that kind of headbutting as long as it's in good fun. Oh, yeah. Sports are just amazing in that way, in that you can talk a little crap with your friends and whatnot, and even online. But it's just again, when the Angels won for me, because it was the first time they won, I had this guy in the bar. I was actually working for TAP, so I was over at the Catch, and this guy probably weighed 300 pounds. We're all hugging each other. And I picked the dude up. He's like, "What the heck?" But, it was just such an amazing moment.
Yeah.
When the Angels won, or when the Lakers won, the Rams won, of course, in 2000, it's just that adrenaline, that sense of community. And it's just the coolest thing. And again, that's why I love restaurants, because that's that other aspect of it.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's a good segue because I want to talk to you about the Rams, but real quick, I have a quick brewing question and talk to me like I'm five. So you don't have to get into science, but I'm always been curious about this and I'm sure other people are. So really simply, so many beers now, especially Golden Road, you have so many different flavors. We talk about the whole mango cart series. It's like a different fruit. So when you're brewing those, do you literally, you have obviously, all the malt, the barley, all that stuff. And then do you literally just take mangoes and throw them in there, or how do you actually flavor the beers?
So they're obviously like everything else, any chef, they've got a number of ways you can do it, right? But for us, and what I've been comfortable with doing is there's a company called Oregon Fruit. They're up in Salem, Oregon, and they have purees of fruit. So you can buy cans of it if you're a home brewer, but it's 100% fruit. There's no preservatives added. There's no, other stuff added. It's just fruit. They pasteurize it, so it's aseptic. So we add it. We basically create a beer. The base is just a wheat ale, 4%. And then we add this amazing mango puree, or for pineapple cart, we add actually pineapple. I grew up in Camarillo, which is right near Oxnard, which is strawberry country. So a little bit of strawberry in there and some blood orange, of course, Orange County and Southern California. And oranges. So those are secondary. And then we got melon cart. But we get these purees of fruit. And then what's crazy is there's almost a pound of mango per gallon of beer. So think about a gallon of milk. It's not that big. And you're putting a pound of mango puree, which is why it tastes like and smells like mango. And full disclosure, with some of the fruits, even with all that beautiful mango in there, and I have mangoes in my house all the time and they smell great, but when you put it in the beer, you're like, one thing you don't want, if I give you a coffee beer, you don't want to go get your nose in there. You're like, yeah, I kind of get coffee, or I kind of get chocolate, or I kind of get coconut.
No, for sure.
What's that?
You want to taste it for sure.
You do, and you don't want to punch them in the mouth and blow their palate out. But with all that mango, we're like, God, it tastes great, but we're missing just the aromatics. So there's a tiny top note, and they're actually a local company over here in Santa Ana called Sovereign Flavors. We get a little bit of nice mango extract, natural mango extract, and we just top note it just a little bit. So when you crack that can or you get that mango come into your nose, you're like, here it comes, and then you taste it, and it's natural and it's beautiful. But if you're, I call it, and the term is organoleptic. If you're missing the aroma, something on the palate, the mid palate, the finish, retronasal, whatever it is, then you missed it, right? It's like, again, we use Portola coffee over here down at Costa Mesa. And if I do a coffee beer, and if you can't smell it like from a foot away, something's wrong. And so, again, we don't want to just bludgeon your palate, but you need to be able to smell that coffee, and then you taste it, and you're like, you just see it. They're like, yes. Mm-hmm. So I'm always watching people's expressions, because if they're like, then I know I missed it. It's and my brewers, we're our harshest critics. So if we don't love it, we're not going to put it out. It's like, and we've done trials, and I'm like, guys, and I'll be the final arbiter. I'm like, it's good, but do you love it? Yeah. Would you drink 2 or 3 of these? Probably not. Then we're not done yet. So let's keep going until we get that flavor where we want it. And people are going to, and of course, you'll never please everybody. Pumpkin ale is the classic. It was better last year, but I put more spice in this year. Yeah, it was better last year. It was more spicy. I'm like, how was that possible? Yeah. So some people you'll never please, but with your integrity, yes, we love this. And then listen, because if 90% of the people saying, yeah, great, you love it, we don't love it, we would do this, then you got to adapt. So you got to have your integrity. You got to know what you want. But if you're not willing to tweak it a little bit, then again, you're just doing it for yourself, and that's too much ego. You're making this for your guests to enjoy. Again, understand what you want as a brewmaster or as brewers, but the ultimate test is your guests are drinking it over and over. And Mango Cart has become crazy that we're going to do like almost 200,000 barrels maybe next year. Mind-boggling. What's that?
You said it's delicious.
Yeah, and again, that's a tribute to the work we put in. And if the malts change or the mango changes a little bit, we adapt. We can't say that beer is done. It's set in stone, because it's an agricultural product. So you adapt every year, which makes it fun. Again, 25 years in, you can tell I am never bored coming to work. I'm usually just, if I have a week off, usually by the fourth day, I'm like ready to come back because there's something new to do.
I feel like we all feel the same with that. Hey, Vic, I got a question for you. You said you had an Eric Dickerson jersey. Is that your top running back for the Rams all time? Who's your top?
I think so. Marshall Faulk would be right up there. Of course, got us a ring. Well, he got St. Louis a ring, but still the Rams, you know. So when they left, it's like, who am I going to root for? I'm not going to root for the 49ers. I hate the 49ers.
Can't do that.
I think the Chargers, I don't want to get too political, but in my mind, they belong in San Diego because I have a lot of friends in San Diego and they miss them. But not going to become a Charger fan. But I think Dickerson, and he's still, of course, the Rambassador. So you hear him all the time on Channel 2 or on the radio or whatnot. But Dickerson was just a beast. And, he was the consummate player, consummate Ram. And when he left, it was really tough because I think the Ram, and I've even heard him say, I think it was recently, I heard him last week. He goes, I probably shouldn't have left the Rams, and gone to Indy. But love Dickerson. I love his passion. He's articulate. The consummate Ram, like I said. But I think Marshall Faulk could be my number 2, just because he could do everything. Catch out of the backfield, knock you over, just absolutely do everything. And that Greatest Show on Turf was just so much fun for those few years.
Yeah, I think
I had a pleasure, a chance to play versus 3 of those running backs that you guys have all time: Jerome Bettis, Steven Jackson.
Yeah.
Steven Jackson was great too.
Steven Jackson was awesome. Jerome Bettis was tough just because he went to the Steelers and did so much more there. But,
We had him. When he started off and he came out of Notre Dame, he was sharp, man. I that's when I first started really watching football back then. I was a little kid, and he was the man. A big fellow like that running up and down the field, breaking tackles, taking 50-yard runs to the crib.
Yeah,
that was good. And then Steven Jackson, I went to USC, so I played versus him when he went to Oregon State, or got to watch him, I should say. I didn't really play. And then came in the league and played versus him a few times, and boy, he was a load to tackle.
I was going to say, yeah, he was another beast. Love Steven Jackson. And I went to Cal. So, I remember him at Oregon State. And, and that's why it was awesome when we got Jared Goff. It's like –
Cal guy.
Like, who the heck is this guy? Most of the country had no idea. I'm like, look, this guy – it's just pinpoint, but he needs protection. Just like, look at Kurt Warner. That was a classic example. Warner, of course, was amazing, get rid of the ball, but he's protected, right? I mean, it's all about the O-line, which is why Brady's been around for so long. And then we started having issues with the O-line, and Kurt Warner was getting beat up, and then they bring in Mark Bulger. But then what did Warner do? He went to the Cardinals and was one play away from another Super Bowl. So just like with Goff right now, it's I get it. He's throwing some picks and whatnot and turned the ball over. But if he doesn't have protection, what are you going to do? You basically got a half a second before you're down on the ground. So I don't blame Goff so much. Although, he's wearing number 16, of course, our nemesis, Joe Montana. But you look at Ben Roethlisberger the other night. I mean, you got 2 minutes left. You think Big Ben's going to do it? Nope. Again, he was getting pretty much run over. So it's about the pass rush. It's about the O-line, and give a quarterback 5 seconds. Anybody could be. Who was the who went to Minnesota the other year? Actually played. What's that?
Bridgewater or Kirk Cousins?
No, before Cousins.
Case Keenum.
We had Case Keenum, right? And all of a sudden he's a friggin' all-pro in Minnesota, but he had protection and he had a system that could work. Yeah. So, it's quarterback after quarterback. You think, oh, the guy's a bum or he stinks, he's terrible. It's like, well, he probably doesn't have an O-line because, again, Brady, that's the brilliance of the Patriots is they just protected him for 20 years. And the 2 Super Bowls they lost to the Giants, he got beat up. He was mortal at that point. He was human. So otherwise, he stands back there and he's just going to pick you apart. It's tough.
Yeah, who knows how many rings he'd have if he didn't get hurt, and that year he didn't get protected. He got destroyed in the Super Bowl versus Giants because of that. Yeah.
So Victor, what do you think of this team this year? I think they're, I think obviously let's just forget about the bad loss last week against the Jets. I think that was an outlier. Don't know what happened. Let's just forget about it. But what's your thoughts on this team? We'll kind of end on this. Is this a team you think can go to the Super Bowl, bring the first one to LA?
100%. Again,
like it.
It's about the O-line stepping up, protecting Goff, getting the running game going, right? We love Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson. Can't get the running. I mean, we've seen it going back to the Bears last year. They stopped the run game. What did they do in the Super Bowl? They stopped the run game. Actually, I think it was a couple years ago when the Bears kind of had the blueprint that the Patriots followed to beat us in the Super Bowl. But we have a tough time, when we can't run the ball and we play a really tough defense. McVay's gotten better about, of course, getting Goff outside the pocket. That's what happened last week. He was in the pocket. He got beat up, so he's got to get out. But love Cam Akers, love the running game overall. I think we can get to the Super Bowl, but it all depends on the O-line. If they protect Goff, then sky's the limit. If Goff has got no time and he's running for his life and he's getting sacked six times, then we'll probably go 1 and done. So I'm hopeful. Get the triple crown here with the Lakers, the Dodgers, and the Rams. But we'll see.
Crazy. Yeah, there's talk that Andrew Whitworth may be back by playoffs, which is insane, but that would obviously be a huge boost to that offensive line. So looking forward to
100%.
it.
Yeah, I saw him last week. I mean, he said he would be surprised if he didn't come back by the playoffs. So
crazy. So
we got drafted the same draft class. He's a strong human being. So can't wait to see him back on the field representing.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Andrew was taken 1 round before Frostee on the same team. So they were teammates for a number of years.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, well, Victor, hey man, this was fun. I could talk beer all day. I'm a big fan of it. Love doing tours. So I know once things open back up, we'll definitely look to get in there. I live in Pasadena, right by the Atwater Village location. So me and my wife go there all the time. Obviously can't right now because they're LA County, so they are closed for that. But yeah, man, thanks for jumping on with us, talking beer, talking some Rams. Can't wait to meet you in person, hopefully soon, but keep up the good work. Thanks so much. Great meeting you guys, of course, virtually, but really, really looking forward to meeting you guys in person. And Frostee, if you swing over, I'll email my phone number. I'll come over and meet you over here. Oh, absolutely. I'll be in. You'll notice me. Okay. Hey, Merry Christmas, Victor. Thank you. Merry Christmas, guys. Take care. Happy holidays. All right, Victor Novak, everyone. Wealth and knowledge. Go visit him at the Anaheim location. Ask him to stand up on the bar top. Shout out that he's the man, as he mentioned in the interview. But I think we'll be there soon. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, absolutely. And Vic says he wears Eric Dickerson jerseys. There you go. Angels hat. But on our show, he came on bald. He didn't have a hat on. So he may be bald. You never know, guys. You never know. He said he doesn't look good. Ask for Vic. Look for the Eric Dickerson jerseys. So, but great episode. I enjoyed it. A very Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays out there. Frost, pleasure as always. Hope you have a great holiday season with your family. Where can everyone find you at? At The Organic Frost. And that's about it. That's on Twitter, Instagram. Take Back the West. SC's football season is done, so we'll get going on that. But as far as that, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, New Year's coming up. 2021 is going to be our year. Remember we said that last year? We say it every year, I think. I think every year that's like, oh, next year's going to be better than last. And I think this is the first time where that'll be exponentially true. For me personally, this has been a good year for me. I have my daughter. We've built this podcast. Our business is going better. So it's all about finding positives. I preach it all the time, and I think it's been a good year. But yeah, 2021, everything considering, I think is going to be better for everyone. So looking forward to that. You can find me at Ryan Dyrud LAFB if you want to talk Rams, Chargers, Bruins, Trojans football. I'm on Twitter there. The main account, LAFB Network. Make sure to subscribe to the show wherever you listen. LA Football Podcast on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, anywhere you listen. We are also video platform, all LAFB Network on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Frost, again, thank you. Have a Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Looking forward to talking to you again here soon, though. Yeah, absolutely, brother. Happy holidays. Stay safe. Wear your mask. Yep. Merry Christmas, and to all a good night.